There is a body on the ground and a bunch of cops standing around. Some offers insight, some make jokes, some still thinking of the mead from the night before. This is every day of your life when you serve in Doomguard's Hall of Homicide. This is what it's like to be a Thor. 5 bodies in different districts in 1 week. This peculiar homicide has been elevated to an all thing. So Thorleif, aka the Ultimate Thor, and his partner Beta Ray Thor is charged with leading this investigation. You see, in a case classified as an all thing, all hands are on deck and the case must be closed and closed fast before Doom himself takes an interest. Because when Doom takes an interest, it's when Thors get stripped of their hammers. In other words, these 2 partners are screwed. Thorleif gives the command and thus Thors the Green along with Stormborn and the Tree heads west to investigate. Rooney, the cynical one, and Thor the Destroyer heads east for their own investigation. The 2 partners do not have much to go on. There's not much evidence in this crime scene except for a dead body, and as you may know, dead bodies tell no tales. But luckily for the Thors, a bunch of delinquent ghost racers are heading their way. The Thors have found a new suspect. Later that day, Doomguard, the Law Speaker demands for the presence of Thorleif and Beta Ray Thor. During their meeting, the Law Speaker berates the 2, stating that they are the sorriest excuses for Thors that the Speaker has the displeasure of laying his doom-damned eye on. Before he tells the 2 Thors to get the hell out of his office, he informs them that Sheriff Strange and everybody is on high alert ever since the incident involving the quarantine site and a missing Thor. Ray and Leaf departs the precinct unfazed because, well, getting yelled by the Law Speaker is like drinking bad coffee. It's no big deal. Ray now heads to the city to shake up some street informants, and Thorleif is off to see a frog. Arriving on location, Thorleif meets with Throg, the forensics Thor. With all of the 5 bodies in front of them, the Thors have discovered something very interesting. A connection is made as Thorleif now knows that the 5 women are the same person from different districts. Throg says that they got themselves a serial killer who only kills 1 woman. Later that night at Valhalla's meat hall, Thorleif enjoys a well-earned drink. Moments later, Beta Ray joins his partner to share intel. Ray's sources didn't yield any results, but he is meeting with 1 more snitch soon after. When Thorleif asks to join Ray, he says that this snitch is uneasy around Thors and only tolerates him because he looks more like a horse than a jackass. Thorleif is exhausted, but his mind is hard at work to solve the serial killer case. But Ray pulls rank as a commanding officer and orders Leaf to go home and get some rest. An hour later, in a rundown alleyway, Beta Ray arrives to meet with his contact. This source knows things. He knows secrets. He knows things that no one else could possibly know. So it would stand to reason that his source will know the name of the 5 deceased women, or a clue as to who the killer may be. But as he crawls out of his cardboard home, Loki warns Ray that he can tell the Thunderer the greatest lie of all. But not everyone can handle the truth. Back at Valhalla's, the sound of thunder draws an army of Thors towards the center of the noise. Arriving on the alleyway, Thorleif and his comrades discover Beta Ray Thor beaten to an inch of his life. With a last breath, Ray tells his partner that he knows the name of the 5 victims. Jane Foster. Thorleif, on his knees, screams in horror as his partner, Beta Ray Thor, dies in his arms. All throughout the heavens, the thunder has gone silent. For today, a Thor has fallen. Valhalla's meat hall. Today, we lay to rest Brother Ray Thor. 8 years ago, he rose to the rank of Stormbreaker and served with distinction in the Hall of Homicide. He died with a hammer in his hands. He was a devoted son of Doom, a Thor of Thors. With those words spoken by the Law Speaker, Thorleif raises his hammer in the air. He only has 1 word to say. Vengeance. A Thor has fallen. A Thor has been taken from us. Now, my brothers and sisters, now, we bring the thunder! And the thunder began as their floating citadel approaches the Greenlands where the Hulks call home. They round up their usual suspects with unreserved force. The thunder does not end at Greenland. The Hulks, the Sinisters, the Ultrons, the Prowlers and the Predators, the Mutants and Monsters, and any and all repeat offenders. It is not a good day to be on the Thor's blacklist. Even with their enhanced interrogation techniques, the Thors are no closer to a new lead. Thorleif knows this. The only thing they got is the name. Jane Foster. Thorleif interrogates a man who once worked with Jane Foster of this domain, but he tells the Thunderer that Jane has been gone for months now, and that Thor came shortly afterwards to take her things. This realization shocks Thorleif, who amongst his core have done this. An intimidating voice states, "You want to know what he looks like? All you gotta do is turn around." Thor the Mighty was what he was once known for. Now, he is Thor the Unworthy. He was stripped from his hammer and casted out of Doomguard in shame, but he is here now with a warning. He tells the ultimate Thor that he will end up unworthy as well if he continues down this path. You need to forget you ever heard that name, unless you want to end up like me, or worse, like your partner. The ultimate Thor challenges the mighty Thor in battle, but this goes against their core rules. No Thor shall lay hands on another, but as you may know, the mighty Thor isn't part of their core anymore. He preemptively strikes his opponent. Leif rises to his feet and the two Thors engage. Metal clashes metal. Mjolnir strikes with the power of 1,000 storms, but the unworthy holds his own against the hammer of the gods. Lightning strikes from the heavens and thunder is heard. The two are evenly matched and the fight comes to a standstill. It begins to rain, and Thor the Unworthy mockingly says that the Thor core is calling for the ultimate Thor. Thorleif says that this is not over, and he ends it on a question. Who is Jane Foster? The Unworthy replies, "Why does it matter? They're all dead now anyway." Hours later, Thorleif arrives to meet Throg and his partner, Thur. The forensics Thor tells Leif that Jane Foster from Egyptia had died 3 years ago, but someone dug up her bones and paraded them on the streets. Could the killer be taunting them? But the bones are just the beginning of this mystery. A body has been found, but it's not Jane Foster. This body perished a couple months ago, and it's only discovered now. Meet the body of Donald Blake, door-to-door hammer salesman, recently retired. Suddenly, a noise alerts the Thors that they are not alone. Throg sends his partner Thur to challenge this mysterious figure. He gets knocked out and Throg discovers magic residue. There is magic in play here. They chase down this intruder and pins him to the ground. They found their first suspect. He smirks and he states, "Please, call me Loki." Doomguard, a suspect is asleep in an interrogation room with half a dozen Thors ready to rip his throat out on a drop of a dime. Doom's personal army of cops have finally made headway. They got a lead to the Beta Ray Thor's murder. They finally found their first suspect. After pulling up records, the Thors only found a few petty criminal charges. No domain of birth. No family or gang affiliations. Last known residence was the cardboard box in the alley where Ray was found dead. Ruined Thor demands for a couple of minutes alone with a suspect, but Thorleif denies some of his specialty in cruel interrogations. Ruinly marches out of the room angered by the rejection. Thorleif is positive that the suspect killed his partner. This man, known only as Loki, has shown his expertise with magic, but it's interrogation time and Thorleif marches into the room. The interrogation begins and Thorleif asks his list of questions. Who is Jane Foster? Why did she have to die? Loki responds with his condescending tone. He brings up the fateful night when Beta Ray Thor was murdered. You should have heard the way he screamed. Angered at the remark, Thorleif grabs Loki by the collar and slams him into the wall. "How did you kill him?" he shouts, but the mischievous prisoner states that Ray was beaten to death. A strong Thor who wields a magical hammer was defeated and bludgeoned. Loki may be many things, but he is clearly not strong enough to take down a Thor. "I've seen the bodies. I know exactly what you're capable of. You!" Thorleif stops his aggression and he takes a seat. He apologizes for losing control. That's not like him. Instead, he emphasizes with the suspect. He says that he wants to learn from Loki. That he is in awe of the man. Thorleif wants to know everything. Loki is shocked. Then amused. "Ha! Wow, does that sort of thing actually work?" "Sometimes." Loki responds by telling the ultimate Thor that he had been helping him, moving the bodies in strategical locations for the ultimate Thor to find. He even called in anonymous tips. Loki did this because he wanted to show the Thors the truth. Loki sleeps in a cardboard box and he lived his life in the shadows, but he knows he is meant for more. That greatness was taken from him. The Prince of Lies does not like being lied to, he states. There are more bodies, more Donald Blakes. Would you like to see them? Thorleif heard enough and he leaves the Thunder Room. He now has a mission. According to the prisoner, the bodies were moved to one place, so where else would they be if not the Deadlands, where the zombie-fied heroes and villains call their home? Arriving on location, Thorleif discovers a name badge belonging to their female victims. Looking forward, his stomach churns as he bears witness to an ocean of skeletons. It's true what Loki said, the name of these two victims causes the Thunderer to quiver. He has no idea why. Suddenly, a blow from behind nearly knocks Thorleif out cold. That was no zombie. It felt like being sucker punched by a dozen Hulks all at once. He returns the attack by throwing his hammer right back at his foe. Then his heart sank. There's no mistaking it. The sound of Uru clanging on Uru. Thorleif takes on a blow to the face by a hammer, and the attacker finally shows himself. Metal clashes upon metal as the two Thors engage. Rooney is shown to the attacker, and he admits that he had killed Betteray Thor. Surprised at this revelation, Thorleif loses his footing, and the Rune King Thor takes advantage. He takes down the Ultimate Thor with a couple clean swings from his hammer, and Thorleif is floored. Thorleif, barely conscious, takes a look upon his fellow Thorsmen, and the last thing he sees before passing out is the swing of the weapon of the gods. Time passes, and the once empty field begins to fill itself with mindless zombies craving for fresh brains. An undead reaches over to have itself a meal, but a swing of a blade removes its head from his body. Thor the Unworthy has arrived. "I thought I told you to drop this case. Looks like you didn't listen," he states. "Good. Maybe now we can get some work done." In the skies above Battleworld, Thorleif and his new partner Thor the Unworthy races towards Doomguard, the HQ of the Thor Corps. The Unworthy knew that it had to be a Thor who killed Jane Foster and Donald Blake, but he didn't know which one. Thorleif was instrumental in drawing out the betrayer. It is revealed that Rune Thor and his partner Thorstroyer are the culprits. Rooney betrayed the Code of the Hammer, and he must be brought in to face his crimes. Doomguard, the Thunder Room. Rooney got Loki by the throat and is prepared to execute the homeless man, making it look like a suicide. Thor Destroyer guards the Thunder Room just in case their brothers and sisters come peeking around. The sound of thunder is all too familiar to Rooney's ears. It can't be him. Thorleif is dead. The second strike removes Thor Destroyer from Doomguard, and the attacker presents themselves. Thorleif informs his fellow Corps member that he is under arrest for the murder of Jane Foster, Donald Blake, and his partner, Beta Ray Thor. But Rooney will not go down easily. He preemptively strikes our heroes, but the lightning is returned. Thor Destroyer returns and he takes out the mighty Thor. Rooney charges at Thorleif and manages to take the upper hand. They engage with all of their might. Their bones rattle and blood is spilled. They charge through a brick wall, ending up on the other side, where our hero, Jane Foster, the goddess of thunder from Earth 616, is in the middle of rallying the Thor Corps. "Doom is not the All-Father," she states. "You are the sons and daughters of Asgard, and you have been made to fight a lie." Words of blasphemy echoes the halls of Doom, but the Thunder Goddess isn't finished yet. "Are these the children of Doom I see before me? Or are you truly worthy to carry those hammers?" With his hammer in hand, the ultimate Thor shatters the silence. "My name is Thor, and I am worthy." His courageous lead inspires those around him. "My name is Thor, and I am worthy."
My name is Thor. I am worthy.
"My name is Thor, I am worthy."
I am Thor.
Rune Thor shows his displeasure and slams the ground with his hammer. But it's over. Thor Destroyer is nowhere to be seen, and the Thor Corps will follow the ultimate Thor. Rune is backed up against a wall, and his worthiness fades. His hammer gains in weight, and it is now too heavy to be lifted. It falls to the ground, signaling that Rune is now unworthy. Without his weapon, the Rune Thor gets taken out by one clean swing to the face. Civil war breaks out as members of the Thor Corps are split. Many chose God Doom as their Allfather, but the Law Speaker can finally see that Thorleif speaks the truth. He sides with Thorleif, shifting the battle against Doom's Thor Corps. The battle is won, but the war is still raging on. The Goddess of Thunder leads the charge towards the World Tree, so that they might smite a god. While en route, Thorleif catches up to the Thunder Goddess. He had never seen her before, but he recognizes those eyes. Jane Foster. She tells him that she is new to all of this, but Thorleif isn't. He took part in many apocalyptic battles, and this may be their ultimate fight. They have arrived at the epicenter of destruction. They prove their worthiness and they attack the biggest and baddest monster that they can find. Thorleif goes toe-to-toe with Holocaust, the son of Baron Apocalypse. He takes out the monster, but many more takes his place. For the first time in his life, he feels truly worthy. Nothing matters now but the thunder ringing in his ears, the feel of Mjolnir in his hand, the taste of battle upon his lips. The monster washes over him like a rushing tsunami, but he will not stop. He won't stop. Even if his life is taken, he will hurl his hammer as hard as possible. So hard that it will still be flying, long after he's... The ultimate Thor's hammer found a new home in Asgard. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Comic Island. My name is Joey, and you've just watched our Thor's Secret Wars tie-in, which covers issue 1 all the way to issue 4. The biggest thing I can say about this series is the fact that it actually ties into the main Secret Wars comics. Actually, let me say that again. Only issue 4 directly ties into Secret Wars. Issues 1, 2, 3 goes over a pretty intriguing story about loyalty and betrayal, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm super glad that my favorite Thor writer, Jason Aaron, was the guy behind all of this. The art was consistent and the dialogue felt real in such a strange thing that is Battleworld. Out of all of the tie-ins that me and Arden did, I'm glad we found a few issue series that actually relates to the main story. The only regret is that I should have covered the Civil Wars tie-in for its interesting story, or I should have covered the Shield, which in my opinion is the most direct tie-in to the main story. So, what's next for Thor fans? Well, after Secret Wars, we follow Jane Foster as she continues her role as the new Goddess of Thunder and Jason Aaron's the Mighty Thor. So, now I want to hear from you. Which one was your favorite Secret Wars tie-in? And do you guys want us to cover the Mighty Thor by Jason Aaron? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time in another Comic Island video.